Two guys from Millbrook, Ohio, drive out to their friend's town to attend his sister's wedding. Late that night, once the reception wound down, the guests started clearing out. Eventually only a handful of close family and a few stragglers were left. They figured they'd just crash there for the night. But around 2 a.m., when they stepped outside for a smoke, they noticed the security guard had built a small fire near the gate. They wandered over to warm up. One of them said, "There's no room to sleep in there. We're gonna have to figure something out." Their motorcycle was parked a short walk away, saddlebag packed with their stuff. They wandered toward it. What happened between that night and the next 3 months is going to give you chills. I don't usually cover stories like this, but today's is one a lot of you might not be able to sit through. If you can make it to the end, tell me in the comments how it hit you. This one comes from a guy named Jake. It was back in 2022. Jake lived in Millbrook, a small town between Columbus and Dayton. He was in his second year at a community college nearby, and he had a buddy named Tyler who lived a few streets over. Jake and Tyler used to trade off riding to campus together on Tyler's motorcycle. They also had a third friend from school, Ryan, who lived out in a small farming town about 20 minutes from Millbrook and commuted in every day. The three of them were tight. Ryan's older sister was getting married, and he invited Jake and Tyler out for the wedding, telling them to come early so they could help set up. They agreed to head out around 2 p.m., bringing their wedding clothes in a bag. Tyler said he'd bring his bike, but at the last minute his brother had taken it, so he showed up on his dad's old Honda instead, the one with a saddlebag bolted to the side. On the way, they passed a liquor store near the Millbrook bypass. Tyler wanted to stop. Jake pointed out it was Ryan's sister's wedding. Did they really want to show up drunk? Tyler talked him into it anyway. They bought a couple of half pints, had a drink each right there in the parking lot, and stashed the rest in the saddlebag. They got to Ryan's place, helped haul folding chairs and decorations to the reception hall, and by evening the family had all headed over to it. With just the three of them left at the house getting dressed, Ryan pulled out a bottle of his own and poured drinks for everyone. "It's my sister's wedding," Jake said. "You're gonna show up drunk?" Ryan laughed it off. "It's a long night, one round won't hurt." So they all had one. Jake and Tyler, of course, were also still carrying their own stash in the saddlebag. The wedding went late. Guests trickled out one by one. Around 2 a.m., Jake and Tyler stepped outside for air and noticed the guards fire. That's when the cold got to them, and Tyler suggested they check the sleeping arrangements inside. Every cot in their mattress was already taken. Tyler, decided to Jake thought that was crazy. It was 2 a.m., foggy, and a 20-minute ride back. They called Ryan over, who thought it was a bad idea too, and eventually Ryan's dad got pulled into it. His dad reluctantly agreed, on the condition they called the second they got home, and sent them off with a box of wedding favors, cookies, which Tyler tossed in the saddlebag next to the liquor. They said their goodbyes and set off into the fog, sticking to the shoulder of the county highway. After about 40 minutes they reached a fork, the long way, or a shortcut that cut past the county coroner's office on a stretch of gravel road before hitting pavement again. They'd driven it plenty of times in daylight without issue, so they figured, why not? About 100 yards in, Jake started getting a bad feeling. "Let's just take the long way," he said. "People say addicts hang around out here at night." Tyler brushed it off, just a short stretch of gravel, then houses on both sides, then pavement, then straight to the bus station. Nothing to worry about. They kept going. Fields lined the road. A ways up, on the opposite side, sat the county coroner's building, not on their route, but visible from where they were, maybe 300 yards off. Jake remembered that the coroner's van used this same road, and the thought alone was enough to spook him. He told Tyler to speed up. They crossed onto pavement and pulled over. Tyler turned around. "Hey, we forgot something." The liquor was still in the saddlebag, and if his dad found it, he'd be in serious trouble. Jake told him to just toss it. Tyler refused, said they might as well finish it off since they were heading to bed anyway, and poured 2 big drinks into a plastic cup right there on the shoulder. About 100 yards ahead was a sharp bend in the road, and near it, a big old sycamore tree. While they drank, Jake felt like someone was watching them from its branches. He said something to Tyler, who dismissed it as a shadow, or the alcohol. They lit cigarettes. Jake kept staring at the tree. Then he saw movement in the leaves, a young woman, maybe 20, 25, staring straight at him. Jake panicked, told Tyler to dump the rest of the bottle, and they took off. Tyler complained his stomach was empty and asked for one of the wedding cookies from the saddlebag. They each ate one and put the box back. Jake could tell Tyler wasn't doing well and took over driving, gunning it as they passed the Sycamore without looking at it directly. Right after they cleared the tree, the bike died. It took several minutes of kicking to get it started again, and once it did, it rode heavy, like something was sitting on the back, creaking the whole way. They eventually made it home, said goodnight, and Jake figured that was the end of it. It wasn't. The next morning, Jake woke up to 8 missed calls from Tyler. When he called back, Tyler's mom answered, frantic, asking him to come over. Jake assumed the liquor had been found. Instead, he found Tyler in bed, burning up with fever. Tyler's mom explained that when he'd gotten home, he'd washed up and gone straight to bed. Later she heard footsteps in the hallway and figured it was him, but when she opened his door, she saw a young woman, 20-something, sitting near his head, staring down at him. The moment she saw the mother, the woman ran straight through the wall. Jake froze. Tyler's mom pressed him for the truth about where they'd been. He told her everything except the drinking, too embarrassed to admit it. She started to suspect the shortcut they'd taken wasn't one people used at night, and asked if Jake knew anyone who did spiritual cleansings. Through a family friend, they found a local healer a couple towns over and drove Tyler out to see him. The healer drew a large circle in salt and had Tyler sit in the middle. He closed his eyes, said a few words, and then, without opening them, asked if the two boys had been drinking and eating sweets on that road. That kind of thing, he said, draws spirits. He told Jake he was safe. Something had almost latched onto him too, but his mother's faith and a blessing on their house had protected him. He explained a young woman, 23, had died in a car accident at that exact bend years ago, on her way to her own wedding, and her spirit lived in that tree. But she wasn't in the tree anymore, she'd attached herself to Tyler. The healer tied a protective thread around Tyler's neck, told him to remove it after a week and either bury it under a tree or burn it, and sent them home. Tyler improved for a while. Everyone thought it was over. It wasn't. About a month later his health started slipping again. He began seeing the woman everywhere, a once strong guy reduced to skin and bones. 3 months after the wedding, he called Jake and asked him to go for a walk, saying he'd been stuck inside too long. They sat on a park bench. Jake asked what was really going on. Tyler broke down and told him the woman lived with him now. She appeared constantly, and every time she looked at him he froze completely, couldn't move or speak. She clung to the ceiling, to the walls. She only had one working eye. And she came to him at night for hours, leaving him drained and helpless. He tried to tell his family before, he said, but at night she got worse, telling him no one could save him, that he belonged to her. His family eventually heard about a well-known blind faith healer a few hours away and decided to take Tyler to see him. Somehow, the spirit found out. The night before they were set to leave, Tyler had a violent episode, screaming in a voice that wasn't his, saying he's mine, no one's taking him from me, before finally collapsing into calm. The family stayed up with him through the night. The next morning, Tyler's brother, father, Ryan, and Jake all drove him out. The moment they arrived, the healer took one look and said, "Son, you're too late." The family broke down, begging for a solution. He told them the woman had been on her way to her own wedding when she died, that her body had passed through the same coroner's office, and that her spirit had grown too powerful for him to handle. There was only one place left that might help, a well-known spiritual center several hours south. He told them there wasn't much time. They rushed home, gathered more family, and set out immediately, this time without Jake, who stayed behind to look after Tyler's mother. Along the way, the spirit tormented Tyler the entire drive. About 75 miles from their destination, they stopped at a diner. Tyler seemed calm, so everyone stepped inside for coffee, locking the bike behind them. When they came back out, Tyler was unconscious. Someone at the diner mentioned a clinic a few miles down the road. They rushed him there, and the doctor pronounced him dead. The family was inconsolable. Tyler's brother called Jake with the news. In shock, Jake told him not to say anything to their mother yet, they'd bring him home first. When they finally pulled up, Tyler's mother ran out asking where he was. His father broke down and told her everything. She turned on Jake, screaming that if he'd stopped them that night, her son would still be alive. Tyler's aunt struck him several times. Jake went home in silence. Tyler's parents stopped speaking to him after that, though his brother still checked in occasionally. About 2 weeks after the funeral, Jake started seeing Tyler in his dreams, always saying the same thing, "You didn't stop me." You didn't save me. If you had, I'd still be here. It happened almost every night until his family brought in a priest, who performed a blessing and gave Jake an amulet he was told to wear for the rest of his life. After that, the dreams stopped. But Jake says the guilt never has. The wish that he'd just grabbed Tyler, forced him to stay, done anything to keep him from getting on that bike. That's the story, start to finish. It wasn't an easy one to tell. Let me know in the comments how this one landed with you.